Hi guys, I'm Taylor Barnard, driver for Neon McLaren Formula E team, and I'm here on the DIVEBOMB podcast.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the DIVEBOMB Formula E podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Formula E. From previews to reviews and every single thing in between, we've got it all for you on this platform. And today we're joined by a very, very special guest for a very, very special episode, as you can see. And we're joined by none other than Formula E's latest sensation, should I say, rookie sensation, Taylor Barnard. Hello, Taylor.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Very good. I mean, yeah, I couldn't be much better right now. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing pretty good as well. You know, some people are living their dream, some people are absolutely enjoying the atmosphere, and then we're just really looking forward to this as well. I must start though, actually. Just had a very curious question. So, we've often seen rookies in Formula E often sort of take their time to build up the pace in their debut season, We've seen it with some other racers in Formula E, but you've absolutely smashed it on the track. You're now P2 in the standings with 51 points. And how does it feel to, what would you like say a bit thinking about your start to the season? Do you have one word to describe it?
Definitely not one word. I don't even know if I can in many words, to be honest. Yeah, it's been nothing other than incredible so far. For sure, Mexico was a little bit difficult for us as a team. Qualifying, we made a little bit of a mistake, but we still managed to recover to the points. Obviously, I got a penalty, which then took me out. But other than that, every race we've been in the points. The powertrain and the car looks super, super strong. And yeah, of course, I've been performing as well. Yeah, I mean, you said rookies usually take some time, but honestly, coming into this season, I felt well prepared. I felt ready, comfortable. Everything was ready to go, and I felt like previously in my career, I've not really had that kind of stability going into a season. So when I did have it, I didn't really feel like a rookie at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it must be said. It's amazing, honestly. I have no words to describe it as well. It's been so good seeing you as well, just smash it on the track. And we did see quite a few. You had some amazing weekend, back in Jeddah. You smashed it in qualifying. Got your first pole position by a whopping margin of 4 tenths, over 4 tenths, in fact. That is big in Formula E terms. So, what do you think just helped you, like, around Jeddah as well? Is it the familiarity from having raced here in F2 in 2024?
I don't think so. To be honest, there was only 3 corners which were actually the same as what I was used to. So from that aspect, I don't think it helped so much. I think it was the fact that it was now the third race weekend that we've had. The powertrain was obviously performing very well at that circuit, and I felt very good in the other races, but everything just didn't quite come together to give us that kind of weekend. But yeah, everything was in the right place at the right time, and I was able to put the car where it deserved to be. I feel like if we had the same kind of weekend in terms of putting everything together in Sao Paulo and Mexico, we could have had a similar outcome. However, I'm not expecting to be on pole by 4 tenths every weekend, of course. I mean, the car was performing very, very well. And I don't know if it was the circuit or if it was just that I was getting more comfortable, but I did really feel good at that track.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's also a nice. I just had another question, Taylor. You had spoken about a certain Nissan driver named Oliver Rowland, who you have termed as your mentor in your motorsport career. Can you just talk us through your sort of relationship with Oliver and how that has sort of evolved over the years? Sort of like, yeah.
Yeah, so when I was in UK karting, I didn't have the money or the budget or anything to do anything further than that. And the next logical step from there was to do European karting. And obviously the jumping budget was quite big. And Ollie was the team owner of another team that I was racing against in the UK. And he saw that I needed help, and he'd raced for the team that I went to previously. So he was kind of the help and the support that I needed to make the next step. in that time, he was kind of like my manager, and he was helping me do that next step in my career. But yeah, to be racing against him now and to be obviously sharing the powertrain and working with him quite closely, it's yeah. And having known him in the past, I think it's very cool.
Yeah,
Sharing a
absolutely. I
podium
think
must
it's
be special.
Sorry?
Sharing a podium must have been quite special to
Yeah,
you both.
it's definitely. I mean, we did it twice, so that was even better.
just wanna get your thoughts on something that we saw debuting in the Jeddah weekend, Pit Boost. So, of course, this has been a feature that Formula E has been hyping up for quite a while now. They were talking about bringing in fast charging as early as season 9, but then that never played out. So, what was, from a driver's point of view, what is your perspective on Pit Boost? And, what do you think Formula E has to do to make it a regular feature across all races of a season?
To be honest, I don't think going into it that anyone really liked it. To be honest, from a driver's point of view, everything new is like a little bit unsettling, a little bit upsetting. But
Yeah.
for me, obviously being new to the series, I didn't really mind a change because I wasn't really used to anything before. Honestly, at the end, now I've had time to look at the strategy and the way that everything planned out. It worked well. There was no mechanical failures or anything like that, which was fantastic for the first race. I don't think anyone wanted anything like that. I don't know from the TV point of view, but I think it added some kind of element to the race, something very different. For me, entering the pit lane and things like that was different for a Formula E race, but it didn't feel unnatural. It felt like it fitted in quite well. And of course, the technology behind it all, and to charge 10% of the battery in just 30 seconds, I think it's an incredible feat that Formula E have managed to do. And yeah, I mean, they've implemented it quite well. For sure, it's worked well at Jeddah, but let's see at other circuits how that kind of affects the race and how that end up working out. But I mean, for me, I think it worked pretty well.
Absolutely. And Liv and Max, do you guys want to jump in with a few thoughts as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in terms of coming into Formula E at the midway through last year in Monaco, you've obviously had like a lot of years in a lot of experience in previous years with combustion engines, but obviously, the switch to electric is pretty drastic. So, what do you think is the hardest part of adapting in terms of that switch from combustion to electric?
The hardest thing would be the instant torque, instant power, especially in rear wheel drive. The way that you have to control the car under acceleration, it's much more difficult than a normal combustion engine. It doesn't help that we're usually on bumpy street circuits with no grip, so that makes that even more difficult. But I think that's part of what Formula E is. I kind of enjoy that style where you have to drive the car very aggressively. You have to try and wrestle it around the circuit, and I think that's what suits me. Yeah, but I would say the most difficult thing is the fact that you've got to try and be so sensitive and so smooth on the throttle, especially around particular bumpy street circuits.
Does it like jump at you? Is there like any like G-forces that jump at you with that torque at the like start of races?
Yeah, definitely on the starts. The torque that we have and the G-force we get under the start is incredible. It's very, very tough. I mean, laterally at high speed corners, it's not really too bad. Definitely in Formula 2, I had experienced worse, but under acceleration, I don't think I will experience something like that for a long time.
In terms of being with McLaren, you've obviously raced already with Sam quite a bit. What do you think do you think your relationship with Sam has grown over these past few months? And how much of an influence do you think he has within the team and helping you throughout the start of your Formula E career?
I mean, to be honest, I was reserve and development driver last year. So the races where I was reserve, I was already building a relationship with the two drivers. So that kind of made my relationship with Sam seamless in the fact that I would then be his teammate. For sure, we've gotten to know each other better since we've actually been teammates. But look, Sam's a great guy, very experienced, super nice, easy to work with. Everything with Sam is super easy. Even when it comes down to he's not had the best race or whatever, and I'm on the podium, still to see your teammate down there supporting you, it's it definitely brings a lot of positivity to the team when all of the mechanics and everyone is down there and the other driver is there as well. No doubt that if it's the other way around, I will be down there supporting him as well. I feel like the environment and the positivity we have in the team at the moment is very, very good. For sure, I felt it last year, even on, that's what kind of stuck out to me, that last year in Tokyo, there was a weekend where I was reserve, and it was a pretty terrible weekend for the team, to be honest. They were both last in both races, I believe. But everyone was still positive. Everyone was still trying to work as hard as they could. And kind of the result didn't really change the atmosphere. So I know that there will be difficult times coming, but I'm pretty sure that the guys will keep working as hard as they can. Everyone will keep up the positivity. And, you know, I think that's what kind of makes an environment worth being in.
During your time last year as a reserve driver, how did you like keep your motivation up? Because obviously you didn't know when you were going to drive, if you were going to have a full-time career in Formula E afterwards.
My mindset wasn't really on that at all. It was more about trying to learn as much as I possibly could. I knew for sure that I wasn't going to do F2 again because I didn't have the budget to do so. So, I mean, for the next season, I didn't know what I was doing. So my main goal was to just try and learn as much as I possibly could for my future career, if there was to be one. And thankfully, I did put as much of my effort into as learning as much as I could, because when it came to the time where I actually needed to drive, for sure I wasn't ready, but I was as ready as I could be coming from that situation. Also, it's not down to my hard work that I've learned so much. I think it's down to the two drivers as well, Jake and Sam. They were super supportive. I was at sometimes probably quite annoying asking so many questions, but they were both super supportive, super easygoing people. And when you're trying to learn as much as you can from people like that, it just makes your life so much easier.
Anyone else want to jump in with questions?
I have actually one. Taylor, you've smashed two incredible achievements out the park in Formula E. Youngest podium sitter, which was in Sao Paulo, and then youngest pole sitter in Jeddah. With them two under your belt already in Formula E, is there any other major ones that you want to break in Formula E?
Youngest race winner. I think that's quite clear. I definitely want to get that out of the way soon. No, but it's been a really good start to the season. There's been a few records broken. For sure, they mean a lot, but it's not what I'm really focused on. The main priority is to just try and score points for the team and for myself at this present moment in the championship. But of course, if there is a record that I want to be broken, it's race winner for sure.
Okay. You have a lot of experience as well, like we said, with the driver, and with the Gen 3 and then Gen 3 Evo, you've driven both of these cars. Can you point out maybe the main difference that you feel as a driver in that car between the two?
I think the main obvious one would be four-wheel drive. When we're in 350, it does make a massive difference. The car is much nicer to drive, to be honest, because even at 300, you struggle to get the power down. And then when you get extra power, sometimes the guys were going even slower in qualifying last year. And it's just because it was just too difficult to get the power down and you didn't really benefit from the extra speed on the straight. So now we have all-wheel drive. You can definitely use it. And you see when we're in attack mode in the race, it definitely does make a big difference in terms of the way that works in the race. Also, the tyres, they are a lot better than what they were last year in terms of peak performance. They're softer, so they definitely have more grip. Other than that, it's really hard for me to go into more detail. For sure, we've got a little bit more aero as well. It's harder to follow, especially at high-speed circuits, but good enough that we can still race closely like you saw in Jeddah. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I drove the car, the previous car, but not a whole lot. So to go into more detail on that is quite difficult.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else for any more points?
Oh yeah, I think I've certainly got a couple of them. So Taylor, you spoke to us about the instant torque that you face when you switch from, let's say, an internal combustion energy car to a Formula E car, an electric car. So I just wanted to ask you on that. I just wanted to bring to you another pointer. So, like, even when you switch in Formula 2 or in any junior Formula series, the onus is usually on tire management and preserving the tires until the finish. But in Formula E, you guys have to manage your energy levels as well. You have to manage your battery right until the very end. You have to ensure you don't run out. So, how do you think you built up the sort of let's say the skill set to transition from preserving your tires to, let's say, managing your batteries as well as your tires in Formula E?
That's a difficult question. I mean, going through your junior Formula career, for sure, you just learn more and more and more the years that you go on. When I made the step to being a reserve driver, that was already the first kind of sighting that I got as to how to save energy. Once you learn that skill set as to being efficient on energy and learning how to save as much as possible, there's a point where you're so comfortable doing both that you can start to merge them together. It's more about experience and confidence, to be honest. For sure, I had a couple of races last year where the energy side was more critical than the tyre side. So now that these tyres have come in this season, I guess I was driving junior Formula more recently than the other drivers on the grid. So perhaps putting the two together was a little bit easier for me. But I guess if you've got experience with both and you're comfortable and everything like that, then to put them together shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yep, absolutely. I'm just glad that it's something that you've been doing really well this year as well, considering your recent results. And I'm just looking forward to see what you can do this year as well, because with such a great start to the season, there's honestly a lot of potential, given how unpredictable Formula E is. That any opportunity can come up, and then for you to capitalize on. And I just wanted to say, nowadays, I mean, let's not think back to right this season. So last season, Formula E had a lot of these famous peloton races, and you too, I think you raced in Berlin, which had two very chaotic races, something very similar to what you see on conventional circuits like Misano or even like Shanghai with the peloton race. So what is your mindset during such chaotic races when they're like positions changing every lap, and then even in Berlin there were a lot of crashes. So what is your mindset and your sort of thoughts during that race?
Oh, there's a lot going on, I can tell you that. I mean, there's from a driver's point of view, it's super, super busy. You've got energy codes to read out to your engineer pretty much every lap. For sure, you've got to try and keep your car intact as well, because that's definitely a topic in them kind of races. If you lose your front wing, especially now when it's got a little bit more effect if you lose it. Yeah, trying to save energy, trying to save tires. There's so much going on. From what I can tell you, in the second race in Jeddah, for sure I was at the front. I was obviously starting from pole, so the chaotic side of things was definitely less. So I could purely focus on energy. The first 3 or 4 laps of the race, I was driving about 5 seconds off the pace just to try and save a lot of energy at the beginning. Still, when Ollie passed me, he had 1% better than me. So I was, of course, down because I was not in slipstream. But yeah, I mean, if I think back to Berlin, I started both races mid, if not at the back. And for sure, it was me being like a fresh rookie. I had only 1 race, and I remember thinking this is absolute chaos. But there was a couple of points where there were safety cars, and genuinely, as a driver, it was really enjoyable to see guys. It was very hard racing, but fair, and you could go side by side pretty much the whole lap. And from a driver's point of view, when you've got so much going on, but you can still race side by side for a whole lap, for me, that's something which is very special and something that you don't see anywhere else. So, it's something very different. And being a true karting driver at heart, I really do enjoy these kind of races.
We have all the constant scrapping around and battling must have made for something else on the track. So just wanted to say, I just had a quick question come up in mind. This year with regards to Formula E coverage in the UK. So ITV is back hosting it, and it's on free to air. But this wasn't the case last year because they were on TNT and it was behind a paywall. So just how much has this change helped out the Formula E viewership in the UK as well? Could you just tell us some stories that you've heard from your close circle?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's a lot better for the championship. You see, the viewership has gone up quite a lot. People that I know, not that I know personally, but I know around where I live, they didn't really know what Formula E was, and now they've heard about it being free. That now suddenly they're watching me, and my dad and my mum says every day that there's another person that they've met saying, "Oh, does Taylor race?" Like, for sure, it's helped the championship a lot. And personally, around where I live, motorsport was not really that big. But I don't know if it's due to me or if it's due to that. But both things combined, for sure, there's more viewers around where I live. Other than that, I can't really say too much, but it's definitely a positive thing. You always get more viewership like that. And I think the championship, again, have done a great job to try and put that across the line.
Yep, absolutely. And I've seen it as well. A lot of people who have followed Formula E from the beginning, they've also been very happy that it's back on free to air. And they're so delighted, honestly. And I just wanted to come to you with a quick question as well. This year, pre-season testing was supposed to happen at Valencia, but unfortunately, due to the flooding and all that, you guys had to shift to Yarama, if I pronounced that right. So I just wanted to get to know your thoughts on what were you thinking during that situation when with all the chaos around the destruction, the flooding, and how do you think Formula E handled this situation? And just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, what happened in Valencia was really, really bad. The destruction caused there was awful, but thankfully Formula E have managed to relocate it to a different position. The championship did a great job in only a couple of days to sort everything out. They did, fantastic, to be honest. That circuit was not made to be a Formula E circuit, but the fact that they could manage everything very well and for it to be a successful 3 days of testing, I mean, yeah, what else can you say other than they did a really good job? Personally, I really, really like that track. It reminded me a little bit of Zandvoort. There was some banking, some elevation changes. It was a mini version of Zandvoort, to be honest, but it was really, really cool. I did enjoy it. And of course, at the end of the day, it was my first time really driving this car properly with no pressure circumstances and my first time really getting a feel for it. So of course, I enjoyed it more because of that as well. But yeah, other than saying Formula E did a great job, there's not much to say.
Yep, I've also heard they've donated some money and some electric scooters and bikes and all that, which is really a good initiative from their end. But I just think another initiative from their end was also bringing in an all-women's Formula E test as well. We saw several female racers take to the circuit as well. And we've also seen Jamie Chadwick and Tatiana Calderon take to rookie free practice sessions recently in Jeddah. So from your point of view, what do you think we could see some female Formula E racers in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's always been a bit of a skill gap, right? But nowadays there's a lot more girls and a lot more women driving. So the more people that you get in, the better that they will just become because there's more. I think the opportunity that Formula E are giving with the all-women's test is great. For sure, they get experience with big manufacturers like McLaren or Nissan or whatever. I think it's a great opportunity. But yeah, I mean, as a driver, for sure, more opportunity is better, right? Especially from my background that I didn't really have that. So I fully support that kind of all-women's test. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, to get the experience from a team like McLaren or Jaguar even, or Porsche, which is such a big manufacturer, they have so much experience and history behind to learn from that kind of team. It's it's very valuable, and for them to be. The thing is, it's not just experienced drivers as well, right? Jamie Chadwick and Tatiana, they already have experience from the past, but younger drivers like we had Ella Lloyd, she has almost no experience in Formula cars at all. So for her to have this kind of experience in a Formula E car and with McLaren as a team, I think it was a great opportunity for her.
Absolutely. And, I think I just wanted to say that, of course, Ella was one of the finer examples here I would take. But there's also Abby Pullen, who raced for Nissan. She did really well in that test as well. So, people have been saying she could also perhaps join Formula E as well. Cool. And I think I'm just going to go with one final question from my end. I was just thinking, nowadays, obviously, Formula E is heading towards faster and wider and more conventional street venues rather than, let's say, the slower street ones. It's even Diriyah has been discontinued in favor of Jeddah, or we're not going to Rome nowadays because they went to Misano last year and then now we don't have it. So, what do you think this means for the future of Formula E as well? Do you think going to more conventional circuits is actually better for the sport, or is it like they should stick to street circuits and be more like accessible towards the crowd rather than go to a permanent venue?
I mean, to be honest, when I look back at season 1 and season 2, the cars were a lot slower, a lot less developed. So these really tight, twisty street circuits did suit the smaller, lesser powered cars. Nowadays, we have double the power, if not more, than what they had right at the beginning. So a wider, more open street circuit definitely makes sense. It only just came to my head now, but like IndyCar, they have 6 ovals in the year. If it gets to a point where in Gen 4 or even later on in Formula E's life that the cars are super powerful that we need to end up racing on permanent circuits, definitely street circuits need to be an element of Formula E in its life. So like having 6 or 7 street circuits races in the year just to keep it part of Formula E, because I think that's what the cars have raced on street circuits since the beginning. So I think it's important to try and keep that in. But if the cars end up being too fast and too not suited to these kind of tight, twisty street circuits. I mean, we're already moving towards that direction, right? That we're moving towards the permanent circuit road already. Yeah, but like you said, it kind of depends on which route the cars are taking. If they're going much faster, much more downforce, it kind of depends.
Yep, I think that's it from my end about questions as well. Liv and Max, you both have any questions to jump onto?
I was just going to catch on the end of that one. You said, Taylor, about more permanent circuits in Formula E where, the cars are getting too fast, maybe in Gen 4. If you could choose any track that you've raced on or any track that you like, Vyas knows this is one of my questions, but what track would you like to see in Formula E as a permanent track?
That's tough. I mean, my favorite street circuit at the moment is Tokyo. I have not driven it. I went there last year as reserve driver, and I think it looks like a roller coaster. For sure, the bumps and stuff can get annoying to try and push, but it does look amazing. It's something completely unique that you don't see anywhere else. So I'm looking forward to that as a permanent circuit. Wow.
Sorry.
That's really difficult. I mean, the thing is, you can pick your favorite permanent circuit, but as a Formula E driver now, some of them won't work. Like Monza just wouldn't work because of the way the circuit is. It just wouldn't work for these cars. I said Zandvoort earlier. I see Zandvoort being quite good. There's quite a lot of opportunities to regenerate and overtake. For sure, we'd have to do a modified layout, but for sure the general idea of Zandvoort I think is quite good. Imola as well potentially, but it's quite wide. We would have to do a little bit more, but I mean, look, if Formula E can get more permanent circuits and start to implement some of these big ones, I think it would be great for the championship, but also heading towards Gen 4 where the cars will be even faster and have more downforce. You never know what kind of circuits we'll be racing on. To be honest, going back to that, I'm happy to race on street circuits as well. I think it's a great addition that Formula E has compared to another series where we're racing these super difficult cars to drive around the walls of these really crazy street circuits like Tokyo, I think is something special and something that I do really enjoy.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Tokyo was a great choice there. Great choice.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've talked about Formula E, implementing different things, and we've discussed the initiatives. But in general, what about Formula E stands out to you, not in a driver perspective, but just in a general perspective?
You mean in terms of what circuits they race on, or just generally?
Anything in general, anything.
I mean, from a spectator point of view, I would see it as electric racing cars racing around straight circuits. And not only that, but it being super close racing. If I was to think of it generally as a championship, you would see it advertised as, cars being 4 wide on a really tight street circuit and dust being thrown up and people being super close to the walls and things like that, which, I do think is really cool from a driver's point of view as well. Yeah, I mean, for sure, going to more permanent circuits we'd lose a little bit of that. But as I said, it's important that we keep that as something that the championship needs to hold on to.
Thank you very much, Taylor.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks a lot, Taylor, for tuning in. It's
No worries.
lovely chatting with you and hearing about your views on Formula E. And we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. You've been absolutely smashing it. Just continue to keep doing that. We'll be rooting for you your entire life.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.